So when creating a new project, what you want to do is come up here and click New Web Page. And again, this is going to be on glitch.com and click Hello Web Page. The first thing that I'm going to do when it loads is I'm going to click Show, and I'm going to make sure that I can see a preview of my code to the right side. So that way I can see when I'm making changes, what's happening. Because this is primarily an HTML page, we're going to click on index.html, and we're going to set it up to be kind of a blank slate. So that means that I'm going to erase everything in my body. So that means I'm erasing lines 17 to 26. Notice I went one too far. So if you get this little red dot to the bottom left, what you need to do is take a look at it to see what it says. So it says tag must be paired, missing body tag. So with glitch, if you accidentally delete a closing tag, or if maybe you were trying to move it, if you do that open angle, so that left angle, and then the slash, it'll close it for you. It'll automatically close what's ever open. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter a few times because I like to have some room in my body to add my code. So this is the basic base that we're going to start off with. Notice that everything over here to the right, it's completely blank. So the first thing I want to do is in this head section. So remember that the head section is what contains the metadata about the website. I'm going to change this title to whatever I want to be shown up in that tab. So it's going to be about me, a tailored life. So notice that nothing changes over here to the right. However, if I click up here, show, and put in a new window, you're going to see that it is displayed up in the tab. So all the way up to the top and where you can click on the different pages that you're on, it's being displayed, again, in the tab. So anytime you think of title, think of tab. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of my page. So notice over here it's called Pyrite Wiggly Drain. That doesn't need to be a thing. So about me, tailored life. So that way I know what that means when you are submitting this project. I can see exactly what the name is. I know which project it is and who it came from. So please make sure that's including your first or last name and then about me in some way. All right, we are now ready to begin. So I'm going to go to my body. Looking at my storyboard, I have a tailored life all the way up at the top. So I'm going to use an H1 tag, which is the highest level or the largest level tag. And I'm going to type a tailored, and then I can see that display here on the right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm skipping my navigation bar because we haven't learned how to do that yet. We'll be adding that in soon. The next big thing on my page is this about me section. So I'm going to use an H2 because I want it to be a slightly smaller than my H1 because my H1, again, level 1 heading is the most important. The about me is a little bit different. It's in the main content, it's a subheading. So I'm going to do about me. After that, on my storyboard, I have a paragraph. So notice that each time I'm doing this, I'm kind of hitting enter between. That's mainly for me because I need to have that space between to be able to make sure that I'm putting code in the correct order. And then later, it's easier for me to go back and find it. So adding a paragraph about me. And notice that if I want to, I can make this all go on different lines. So it's all kind of in this main section and I don't have to scroll over. And that's okay. But notice it's not changing the line over here. right, so I have general information about myself. So here, if I wanted to add some space, one of the things that I can do, and again, I'm gonna open it up. Notice that that goes all the way across. I think I wanna create a break between 2013 and before teaching at Amundsen. So one way that I can create that break is by adding BR. And what BR does is it creates a line break. It's the equivalent of hitting enter. So now when I go back and look, I can see that it's pushed this down a line. I know I need a second paragraph, so I'm going to go ahead and add it here. So outside of teaching, I enjoy eating cheese fries, hanging out with family and friends. Okay, so I have that second paragraph. Now the things that I can do is I can go back and add my list. So if I wanted to continue doing this very same format here, I'm going to do my favorite things, and I'm going to use that exact same heading that I did before. So I'm going to use an H2. This is not in any specific order, so I'm going to use the UL, which is the unordered list tag. Remember that for each thing, for each item that I want in that list, I'm going to use an LI, which is list item. So caramels, cheese fries. So what I'm doing is I have an end key on my keyboard, and I'm using my pinky and hitting that end, and then the enter to quickly go to the end, hit, and then go down to the next line to make sure I'm not messing up those opening and closing. All right, so I have more than my 3. So right now, if I go back and check, I have my doc type, head, title, body. I have at least 2 headings. I have 2 paragraphs. I have 2 line breaks. So checking this real quick, I'm missing 2 horizontal lines. So I'm going to go back to my code. And again, I really like using those horizontal lines to kind of sandwich my main title. So the horizontal lines are HR. So with these, because it's an empty tag, meaning that there's nothing to go between the horizontal line, it's just that one code. So wherever I want it, it's the same as the BR. I only have to do it once. There's not an opening and closing. Checking back. All right, so I have my 2 line breaks, my 2 horizontal lines. I have my list. I have my 3 list items. So the only things left now are my edited text and my images. So for reference for your formatted text, you can go back to W3 Schools and type in formatting text, and it'll give you all of the different codes that you can use. The ones I really like is INS or inserted. It makes it have an underlined effect. But notice that when I do that, it automatically closes it. So I'm going to delete the closing tag, and I'm going to find in my code where I want it to end. And I want it to end after tailored. So I'm going to do that left angle bracket, and when I put the slash, it'll automatically close it for me. I really want it to stand out that I am teaching at Amundsen High School. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to use the strong tag. And the strong tag tells the browser that this is important information and that it should be bolded. Notice though on my code, when I have it opened, but I haven't closed it, it's made everything else have that bolded look. So if you ever get something like this, what you need to do is check to see where did it start. All right, it started at Amundsen. So I'm going to find that in my code and then go back and make sure that I have it closed appropriately. So by closing it after high school, it closes it there. The other one that I'm going to use is emphasis, and I want about me and my favorite things to be emphasized. And this is going to make it look like it's italicized. So I'm going to use EM, and it's going to make that about me slightly to the left. And I'm going to do the same thing with my favorite things because I want my headings to be kind of consistent so that way it looks a little bit more professional. And then the last one I'm going to show you. So if you are doing this while it's like you have just now started and you know that formatting's coming, you can do it as you're coding. So I like to paintball. However, I don't like to paintball with my family. So I'm going to use the DEL or the deleted tags to make it look like it's striked out. So now if we take a look at this page, I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edited texts. You only have to have 4. I have my list items and my list. I have headings and I have paragraphs. So the only thing left at this point is adding my images. There are 2 ways to add images. The first way is simply clicking new file and then upload a file. Most of you guys will have yours in your downloads. So I want to go through and find one of mine. All right, so I said I liked baking, so I'm going to add a picture of me baking. Also on my storyboard, I have that my other picture is going to be a picture of me in Guam. So the second way that you can add an image is if you click on upload an asset after clicking on assets. So my 2 images here, I want my Guam picture to be first. So I'm going to click on the picture and click copy. Coming back to my index, I'm going to put this up at the very top, right above about me. So it goes by the very top of the picture where it's going to be placed. And I know that I have that style float and I can make it go all the way over to the right, which means that all of the text is going to go to the left. So I want it to kind of fill some of this blank space here. So again, I'm going to give myself some space. To insert an image, you're going to type in IMG space SRC equals, and then quotation marks. You're going to want to make sure that you are pasting that URL between the quotation marks. I'm going to hit Control V. Again, V is copy. And then I'm just going to press the down arrow because I added that extra space. I know that I can do that because that line's blank. Notice that this picture is rather large and it doesn't need to be that big. So we're going to add some text to it and then we're also going to make it smaller. So the first thing is adding an alternative text, and this is what's going to be displayed if the image cannot load. So either internet issues. It's also great for people that are using text readers because if they're visually impaired, they can't really see the picture, but that alt text will tell them what it is. So Miss Taylor and Guam, and then I'm going to give it a title of same thing. Or title is actually going to be Selfie in Guam. So notice with that title, when I hover my mouse over my picture, that's what pops up. So if you're wanting anything to pop up as I hover over that picture, this is a great way of doing it, is using that title. I am now going to resize it. And you can either resize it using the width or the height. Don't do both because it can cause it to be distorted. So I'm going to set the width to 300 pixels. Notice that whenever you do an equal sign, you should use quotation marks because the browser is going to follow directly what is in that. And then the last thing is I'm adding a style, and this is our first glimpse of what CSS can do. So style equals quotation marks float colon right, and then a semicolon. So now if I look at my image is all the way over here to the right. I'm probably gonna make this a little bit smaller because I do have that second image I wanna add. If you notice, About Me is now very small. The reason that is if you look right here, it says the tag must be paired. I haven't closed my image tag yet, so please make sure that you are adding that right angle bracket to close your image, because now this goes back to the correct formatting. Again, I'm going to bump down this width probably to 150. All right, so now what I want to do is I want my favorite things to be on the same level as my baking image. So same thing, I'm going to go back to my assets, click on the baking image, click copy, go to my index, find my favorite things, and again, I'm going to put this right above because it's going to be floated to the right. So IMG SRC equals quotation marks, and then the URL, hitting enter to the next line, and then again, going through that same process. Alt text equals Miss Taylor Baking, my title, getting to roll out cookie dough, because I was making Christmas cookies for everyone. Width, and for consistency, I'm going to have that width be the exact same as my first picture, which is 150 pixels. And then style equals float colon, right, semicolon, and then closing that image. So this has happened because this favorite thing is not as where I had it placed, this other image was still taking place. So what I can do is either I can use enough line breaks, which is what I'm going to do now, because I'm not going to get too much into some of the CSS and some of the padding and margins that we can do. So I'm just going to add some line breaks. Pushes it down a little bit, not much. Probably one more. And there we go. So now I have some of this like blank space here that I'm probably going to want to go back and fill in, which I probably will right now. Instead of doing that, I think I'm going to add a section here about classes I have taught. So again, I'm doing another unordered list. So here's an example of where you might be adding stuff a little bit later, and you might be going back and changing some of the things. So now from looking at it, I don't need those line breaks any longer, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them. So just because what you have to begin with does not mean that's always what it's going to be. You can always go back and make those changes. So the last thing I want to show you is when you go to add your assignment to Google Classroom. Up here at the top, you're going to click Share, and you are going to come down here to the very bottom and you're going to click the code one. So code, and then click here. This is going to allow me to see your code. That's how I'm going to be able to grade it. If you do not show me the code, I can only grade half of the assignment, and I will only be able to give you half of the points for it. So make sure that when you are going to submit, you're clicking this chain link here. If you're ever having issues and you can't figure out exactly what is wrong, you can also invite me to your code, and then I can take a look and make some changes. This is my username. It's the same as my email.